So yeah, I'll be making this video about, like why our generation and why our era is becoming, a joke, right? And why, I've been seeing a lot more stupider people now, and also, our, people in our generation are, I'd say in this world, it has become more pathetic than ever, right? We look a lot more lazy to talk about the distance between the rich and the poor, or the top versus the bottom. It's been separated, right? If you don't know what I'm talking about, I have to really break it down in this video, right? Because I can see that this has becoming a real big problem, right? So yeah, but I cannot see all over the world because the world's too big. But I only live in US and I can only speak about the US, right? I feel like I won't be surprised in the next, like, let's say, generation of 50 to 100 years that the USA won't be the number one country anymore, right? Because politics has been a really big issue. We don't have a really good president so far. Not a perfect president, like, of course not all presidents are perfect, but this one is like nowhere near perfect, nowhere near the best, right? I mean, lack of leadership, people has lost a lot of integrity, right? And there's a lot of people that's acting like a child, right? This is supposed to be a real mature grown man, like, it does not matter. Like, you can be 40, you can be super old age, you can be super young, but and then when you don't get things your way, then you're just gonna throw tantrum like a spoiled little child, right? People are just acting tantrum like a child, and they just get so offended really easily this day. And this is why you know this, like, on every YouTube channel, every video. I say every video, not YouTube channel, hello, right? You'll never see your dislike, unless you're the owner of the channel, with however many videos you post, right? Unlimited posts, right? So yeah, I feel like our community has gone very sensitive, right? So I have to talk about the old day versus the new days, and things has drastically changed, right? I mean, yeah, I only lived for like 26 years and I'm still inexperienced of living in this world, right? I mean, I never know what happened in history, but I only listen to the people who are older than me. I listen to people on YouTube, or I listen to people who are actually older than me, right? I mean, for people who have been on this planet for like 50 plus years, then they definitely know, like, yeah, things has been changing a lot, right? Well, even as little as 5 or 10 years, like, things has looked quite a bit different. So, and also, I've have to tell like what's going on around this world, and why people has gone more pathetic, and why people are not as good as they were compared to the past, right? And there are children, like children around my age, or children are close to my age or in my generation, they're not as good as they were comparing to their parents or their grandparents, right? Because they don't have to go through tougher life, what the older generation went through, right? So yeah, and that actually that doesn't benefit them, because now like they have expectation, right? Of course, like when you have rougher life, like your expectation is gonna be lower, right? But however, like whatever circumstance that you were born, your body and your mind, like adapt to based off that circumstances, right? That's what I'm saying. For example, if you were born with a tough life situation, then of course like you're gonna have you have the toughness, right? If you have the easiest life situation, and if you don't have to do much, then of course like there's no reason for you to get better or get tougher, right? That's just how it works that way, right? Yeah, and yeah, this is how I've been noticing people's behavior has been changing drastically, right? Yeah, I remember I studied sociology or something like that like years ago, right? yeah, I cannot forget what I learned, but I haven't been in college for like many years already, and I'm starting to forget. And I'm just putting this YouTube just to remind you, like, what's going on, around the world, right? I mean, I have to constantly, have to keep learning, because at the end of the day, if I don't use the brain, then it actually does become, useless, right? And I didn't know, like, why, like, people behave certain this way and something like that. But, when I search on the internet, when I keep listening, to people who have more, better knowledge, or that tends to know more than me, I tend to, like, listen to those people, right? They're the one that's teaching me, like, why is this happening in a certain way, right? I just watched the NBA, a few days ago, and players are not the same as they were in the past, right? These players in the past were far more better than the players today, right? The players are so much pathetic, right? I feel like, better nutrition, more salary, these players should, play more, right? And then, suddenly, they low manage, they do not want to play for us, right? They avoid it and make all these excuses, and have to lower the standard, of why, like, these players just don't want to play the games, right? I feel like in the past, like, the rich and the poor, I feel like the gap between the rich and the poor and the medium, income class, they're like, all the gaps a lot smaller. But as time goes by, like, the gap between the rich, the medium class, and the poor class gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Like, I feel like more people, that has more money, they use more money to buy more power, and use more power to buy even more money. And this is exactly what's going on. And this is why, crime rate has, increasingly, gotten, bigger than it was before. So this is exactly what's going on around the world right now. So yeah, our leader is probably a joke, like, if everybody is a joke, right? So it's just the way, society has been, changing, and has been, raising us, right? The way your parents been raising their children, right? This is why, our generation is probably, yeah, you can agree with me saying that this generation is probably weaker than, the previous generation, right? It got weaker because, life got easier, the way your parents raised us, right? So this is what's been going on, and this is why, you on this YouTube, whatever you say, people get so offended so easily, right? They get really mad easily this day, and they get traumatized, a lot more easier than they did in the past, right? I know in the past, like, yeah, I don't know exactly how tough life is, but it must be a lot tougher in the past than it did before, right? I thought, like, 2020 was the worst year ever, but yeah, when I search on the internet, 2020 was not the worst year. So I need to stop saying that, right? People have lived in, other areas where, 2020 is not the worst thing ever, right? 2020 was only a bad year because, of, COVID and stuff, right? So that's the only reason why, a lot of people hate 2020, right? I mean, I keep saying that every year gets worse and worse and worse, but just by listening to YouTube, people saying that this is the weakest version of the era that we live in, and it's so freaking pathetic, right? I'm starting to believe it now, right? I mean, they're like over, like, I say, like, almost half the world are living in poverty right now, and people are just not grateful of what they are, right? If everybody lives in poverty, then, of course, this is gonna be the toughest era we ever live in, right? And I feel like less people complain. The easier things get, the tougher life gets, right? I think this is the reason why, we got lots of weak people, and we got, lots of, sensitive people. It's just, you cannot blame everything on me. It's not our fault, it's the system fault, right? And it's the parents' fault. The way you raise your children, right? I say the biggest reason, like, why a lot of people are changing in a much negative ways, because the way you've been raising your children, right? Speaking for you irresponsible parents out there, right? That is exactly what's going on, right? So it's that simple, it's common sense, right? And I didn't think of it that way. People have common sense. They will. If you don't have common sense, then you will dislike this video and you're never gonna like this video. If you have a brain, if people that don't have brain or either have no common sense, right? Imagine, this is why, we get a lot more nastier people. We get a lot more people that get a lot more, sensitive. We get a lot more people, that are, a lot more offended easily, right? You go on YouTube channel, you go on every single channel, they have to remove feature, of negativity, right? The reason why you see every single video on YouTube, you never see a 0 dislike, or I've been noticing that that all the comments that have likes, you never see a dislike. It's because YouTube removed those features, right? I mean, you can dislike the comment, but at the end of the day, it will not be visible, to even the owner of the YouTube channel, right? Or owner of the video. It's because, people don't like to see negative feedback. They don't want to see negative comments, right? They have to protect people out there because they know people are, very sensitive, right? This is exactly the reason, why, there are so many people acting like a goddamn fool. This is why, our crime rate goes up, right? I feel like, the crime rate is only going to get worse and worse. It's not because of COVID. It's because, it's just the way, parents raise them. And then, and the rich just keeps getting richer, right? I feel like, if the inequality gap is a lot smaller, then I feel like crime rate is going to go drastically down. That's just a fact right there, right? That's just a fact. People, if a lot more people are in poverty and a lot more rich, then they're probably gonna cause a lot more crime rate just for the sake of survival, right? So yeah, so this is another reason inequality gap has definitely negatively impact us, right? I don't know if that directly relates why this era gets weaker and why and also speaking of parents, right? So let's just, I remember back in the old days, right? In the old days. So this is where people get wisdoms up, right? I mean, back in the old days, if you cause a problem or get into trouble, then you definitely your parent will whip you or beat you, right? This is exactly what happened back in the old time. Even around my parents' time, I know that my parents they don't come from US, they came from Vietnam, right? If you just cause trouble over there, then you obviously will pay the consequences, right? But now some people they get in trouble, their parents don't consequence them or probably minimize their consequence. And this is why when they grow up to be real adults, and they're gonna act a lot more foolishness, right? Or parents that's just irresponsible, they don't care about their children's future, right? They just let their children do whatever they want. Sometimes it's not their fault. Sometimes the parents too busy, so they cannot monitor their children, right? Or sometimes it's just the way people influence them. Just imagine the parents cannot do literally everything, right? Sometimes it's the school too, right? If school has done nothing to stop bullying or other problems, then obviously by the time the kids grow up, by the time they go to adult age, and they're gonna act all type of foolishness, right? So yeah, back in the old day, everybody's held accountable, but now people don't hold you accountable anymore, when you grow up, or your parents don't want to hold you accountable. And this is the problem that we're seeing right now, right? So yeah, whenever you did something wrong, somebody's gonna tell on you, right? And then eventually they will notify your parent, and then your parent will discipline to you, because people don't get disciplined the right way, right? You do something good, you get good reward. You do something bad, you get punishment and spanking, right? But that does not happen anymore, or that hard, or maybe it happens a lot more less frequently, right? So yeah, it's just that simple, you know. If you grew up in a tougher era, then obviously, you know, people, obviously you'll see a lot more good people. But if you live in a weaker era, then you're gonna see, you know, a lot more, you know, people, you know, that aren't, you know, so tough, and then they become, you know, and they acting all like a fool, right? Just for example, you know, let's just say, you know, like parents, right? I say majority of it, let's say that why there's a lot of bad people on this earth, right? I say majority of these bad people, they grew up with parents or grew up without parents, right? So yeah, I know that everyone's situation is not the same, right? If that person is not, if a person grew up with a bad parent, that children's most likely gonna be bad, right? Just because of the way they're raised. And if you grow up with a good parents, then you're most likely, then the children of a parent will most likely be a good parent, right? That's just how the way the cookie crumbles, right? That's how the way it works, right? If you grow up with mediocre parents, then you're gonna be mediocre, right? But that doesn't happen all the time. Sometimes, you know, parents were bad, but then children become good. Sometimes, you know, parents are so good, but then the children become bad, right? And sometimes, you know, parents, they love the children so much, they like really, you know, like spoil them, you know? And that can be bad in a way, because now, you know, like their children think like, oh, you know, like I'm used to being spoiled, like I want more of this and want more of that, and they'll get used to being spoiled, right? People are only adapt, you know, based on the circumstance that was given to them, right? That's exactly what I'm saying in this video, right? Yeah, and this has happened, you know, to like one of my cousin's situation, right? I say that his family, you know, I cannot say the name also because it's for privacy reasons. I'm just saying, for example, one of my cousin has been, you know, really been spoiled lately. And this is why, you know, like, yeah, you know, he sometimes he doesn't have the right attitude, and he can act like a, you know, spoiled child, right? And he doesn't have, you know, good integrity and all that stuff, right? I mean, just imagine if his parent does not spoil him or her, you know, all the time. And guess what happened? His attitude would definitely been, you know, way more different, right? I say better than, you know, than worse, right? So yeah, I say that for our children or for people, you know, to be most successful in life, they need a real strong father, right? And yes, you know, and this is why, you know, a lot of people, you know, look down on me, and this is why people don't respect me, because I did not have a father, you know, that raised me. It's mostly my mother that helped me, right? Most people that are successful and strong, like, they get support a lot from their fathers, right? So yeah, I mean, definitely both my parents, you know, really support me well, but it's the mother that does more than my father. That was the reason why, right? I feel like you need a real strong man in your family, right? If you don't have a strong man in your family, then you're just not gonna be, you know, successful, right? That's what I'm saying, right? So a head of family, the man always gotta, you know, take care. The man is always the lead of the family, right? You kind of have woman, you have child, right? If somebody else lead the family, and if it's not the father or your man, then you most likely, you know, your family or your offspring or your child will just be, you know, will not come out very strong, right? Yeah, like I said, you know, I watch, you know, lots of, you know, recently channel, you know, I watch like a lots of sport, fitness brand, Ticket TV and all stuff, right? They say that they've been getting a lots of weird comments, you know, weird funny comments from, you know, from fans, you know, that don't like them or don't like what they say, right? Or Brandon loves Sport TV, you know, lots of real channels and all stuff, right? They've been posting, you know, lots of weird comment that doesn't make any sense, you know, or they just like doing lots of troll, right? I say that internet is another reason, you know, like why, you know, we get a lot more funny, goofy people, right? You know, and also, you know, celebrities, you know, that does like a goddamn foolishness, right? I mean, parents is not, you know, the real reason, you know, like why, you know, like these type of, issues is happening, right? We cannot blame everything on the parent, right? It's the role model. I told you, like, it's the way, you know, society has changed, right? So yeah, this is why, you know, a lot of people have to stop watching NBA, and this is why, you know, a lot of people have to talk about the NBA as a problem, right? Just imagine, you know, like, you play, you know, for these biggest sport, and you know, you play with sport, you know, that will grab a lot of attention, right? Just imagine if you act like a child, you know, like literally, you know, center of all attention. Guess what's gonna happen to everyone? They're gonna act like that child, you know, that's you know, that they're seeing right now, right? This is exactly what's happening, right? And this is why, you know, lots of people have to really cannot ignore and point this out in the NBA, right? Because the way it represents the people, you know, it's a joke, right? I mean, imagine, you know, if kids, you know, like, just imagine, you know, if their parents don't monitor this and let their children watch them, you know, and then they act all goofy, and when they grow up, like, and this parent, it's like wondering, like, what the hell's wrong with this child, you know, right? And also, yo, YouTube thing, right? I mean, YouTube has, you know, age restriction, you know, on video, right? Technology and, you know, role models and celebrities are also an issue, right? Celebrities supposed to be, you know, a bunch of good people, right? They supposed to set example for us. If you set a bad example, then the kids that's looking up to you, they're not gonna be that good, right? And if kids, you know, that look up to the good role model, then they're gonna be really good, right? That is exactly what's happening right now, right? And this is why, you know, we don't want our leader to be weak, right? Just imagine if a kid look up to the leader, you know, and think like, this is okay, like, this is what I should do, you know? And then, you know, the leader did the wrong thing, and then they're gonna do the wrong thing. They're gonna learn from it, right? All the product that's been putting out there are garbage, you know, and childish behavior. Every generation is, all the kids in that generation are looking to them. And this is what's gonna happen, you know. They're gonna grow up, you know, not, you know, being responsible, not wanting to taking, you know, accountability, and they just gonna, you know, act like a damn fool, right? This is exactly what's happening, you know. And this is what happened to me, you know. People need to represent themselves, you know, better. They need to take more leadership, right? This is what has been going on, right? And this is why, you know, like, I don't get into politics, right? Yeah, you know, they're doing all of this foolishness, right? And some people think this is acceptable. No, this is unacceptable, right? Yeah, so people just need to do the right thing. And also, you know, I need, speaking of, you know, child, right? When sometimes parents do the right thing, but then they get punished, right? So it's just like things all over the place, right? Sometimes their parent, I remember, I told you, like, in the past before, like I said, you know, like parents used to beat up their children, right? And then whenever a parent beat up children, the children they don't act like fool, and they don't need to act so tough, right? So yeah, this is why, you know, like, beating or spanking your kid is okay, right? But nowadays, you know, you try to do that in this modern era, or you try to do in the US, you're gonna get in trouble. They're gonna call, you know, child protective service on you, right? And you're gonna get into a lot of trouble if you try to beat your child, right? They think that this is called child abuse, right? It's not, right? It's the way to punish people, right? So yes, like, society has been changed a lot, you know, of, you know, buttering these kids up, you know, right? It's like, it's the way we raise them, you know. So yeah, instead of, some people even reward, you know, like, things that children shouldn't be doing, or sometimes their parent cannot monitor them, right? So yeah, I remember that sometimes it's very hard to, you know, to monitor your kids, you know, like, what they shouldn't be doing, what they should be doing, right? I feel like, you know, like, sometimes when parents, you know, are too busy or something like that, or when people are too busy, they cannot monitor the children, and children just do lots of, you know, weird, foolish thing, think it's funny, and then when they grow up, they still continue to do the same thing. And this is exactly what happens. So to order for children to order to have really good people in life, you have to discipline them at a very young age, right? This is where they learn the most, right? But when they get older, like adult age and all stuff, I mean, they can still change, but it's highly unlikely, because the brain is already developed, right? I mean, at a certain age, your brain's gonna develop, and it's not gonna change its personality anymore, right? So yeah, if you really want to have good kids and good children, then you have to raise them the right way, right? And if you don't care, if you really want to bad children or something like that, then you just have to, they don't even bother caring about them, or just raise them the wrong way, right? And sometimes parents get even upset, if the children did something wrong, right? Sometimes the parent gets offended now, they don't want to correct the children, right? Whereas in the old days, parents were willing, to punish their child, right? And this was Ticket TV was saying, like every time somebody did something wrong, and then they get into argument and they don't want to take a responsibility, right? I mean, child, raised it on his own, is very tough, right? So yeah, this is exactly what's going on, right? So yeah, this happens a lot in NBA, like where lots of BS is happening. Sometimes people do a good job, they get fired, and sometimes people that don't deserve a job, they get a job. And this is why foolishness are going on right now, right? People have lost integrity. Like there's a lot of biasness and unbiasedness, right, in the workplace. So this is why our era is not that good anymore, because sometimes certain people like certain people, so they favor them more than other people too, right? And that's beginning to be a problem, right? That's beginning to be a problem. I know that these problems, all I say in this video is not serious, but it is serious. So, and this is a real life situation, right? So yeah, some people, they do way more better than the other people that boss or whatever that person like, right? Yeah, I mean, favoritism is always the real issues in life, right? I mean, it is what it is, whoever they like you more, they just voted you in, right? Same thing with the NBA all-star game, like there are players that are way more qualified and that are way more capable of doing than what these players are putting product out there, right? Some players are willing to put better product than the other people, and they don't get a chance. You see what's going on right now, right? Some people are just putting minimal effort, where people are gonna put a lot more effort. I mean, people who work really hard and who are much more dedicated, they just should want that deserve to get more opportunity than the one that don't put in as much hard work as the one that does, right? And this is why a lot of people are hungry for jobs right now, right? So yeah, I feel like favoritism has been a problem for throughout the year. I don't know about that. You can comment below, but yeah, maybe like I said, when things get worse, then obviously favoritism does play a role too. So let me think of another reason, like why why has this things has gone to the wrong way, right? So yeah, like I said, you live in the world, life is straight up not going to be perfect for you, never going to be perfect, right? People, and this is why a lot more people are doing foolish stuff, because they work so hard to get this opportunity, but then they see people who are a lot more less qualified. I know why people have favoritism is either that they have more power, or either a lot of people like you for some reason, right? So yeah, sometimes they only do it based on favoritism, right? If you don't know what I'm talking about, so here's another example. This this is the perfect example of, like why, like why, like life is so rigged, right? For a perfect example, like, Bronny James, the NBA, right? Everybody knows, like, Bronny James cannot play in the NBA, right? He cannot even play in the college league, right? There are even, college or street ball out there, that they're not even too close to qualify NBA, they are better than Bronny James. And how come he is in the NBA? You see why you upset? You see why? The reason why Bronny is in there is because he does not want to be in there. Like, he's only in there because of LeBron James, right? If Bronny was not LeBron's son, then he will never make it to the NBA. And that's what I'm talking about, right? And this can happen, This may not happen in NBA, but this sort of organization happen to you. Like, if you have a well-known person, that likes you, or if you're a family of that person, that everyone likes, then they're gonna put you in this situation. So yeah, this is exactly what's going on, right? There are players and I remember that Bronny went to the Lakers, right? Somebody who are a lot more, there's somebody, who will definitely cook Bronny, 100% for sure, they deserve to get roster, and they don't get a roster. His name is Quincy Olivari, right? Yeah, I remember Quincy Olivari is the big fan of Steph Curry. Even Steph Curry acknowledged him, and he got sponsored. So I'm proud that Quincy Olivari, that he really wanted to play for the Lakers, and he was sad and he was crying. When that guy did not get a shot to play in the freaking NBA, right? I don't know what to say. Just as much as I can like Bronny, all I want. I can like Bronny, way more, or 100,000 or a million times more than Quincy Olivari, and Quincy Olivari will never go in the NBA. Even if I love Bronny so much, and if I have high integrity, like real grown men, I will definitely pick Quincy Olivari over Bronny, no matter how much I like him, no matter what, right? This is called biasness, right? So yeah, people really strongly like you, they just pick you, right? So that's what's going on, right? There cannot be any more biasness going on, right? So yeah, for the people who take up a job spot for other people who really deserve it, for people who don't have integrity, you should be ashamed of yourself, right? You should be. Because this is just unfair, right? Everything you have to work for, everything is not earned. You have to work for it, right? So yeah, the reward system is also messed up, right? You should be rewarded, based on how much work you put in, right? If you put in no work, you get nothing. If you put in little work, you get something. If you put in more work, and you get more things. If you keep putting more and more and more and more, and you put everything on this table just to get opportunity, then you should get that opportunity, right? Things should only be earned how much energy and effort you put into things, right? That's how things should work that way. So right, I remember back in old days, if you want to be enemy, or you want to be on that spot, you have to work and earn for it. But some people don't have to earn for it, some they just and that's why LeBron definitely want Bronny to be in the league. It's just for his because he's a narcissist, he just want more accomplishment, and he just want more powers and attention, right? So how much more attention does LeBron need, right? I don't care if I'm a LeBron fan or anything like that, but I can criticize him, right? I can, So yeah, just because you're well known, or you're well famous, or you're very likable, that doesn't mean you should take a spot that person really work hard for to earn that spot, right? That just seems unfair, right? That's so yeah, this is what kind of system, that's the system we live in, right? So yeah, whatever You do that there, I mean, there's always going to be consequences, right? So yeah, I gotta think of another reason, possible reason of, you know, like why, you know, this is happening to us, right? Yeah, why, you know, people get more, you know, angry easily now, you know, right? I mean, did my parents raise me the right way? I mean, obviously they didn't raise me, you know, perfectly, right? I mean, this is why, you know, a lot of people may not, you know, respect me, you know, as much as, you know, they did before, right? So I cannot entirely blame them, but, you know, sometimes, you know, sometimes it's just hard to keep track of, you know, everything, you know, right? Sometimes parents don't even know, like, what you're doing, you know, outside of your time, right? Parents don't, you know, keep track of you, you know, like 100% of the time, and you can enjoy, like, doing, you know, some funny, goofy stuff and do something inappropriate, and nobody's gonna notice that, right? Except for you, right? And you're just not gonna put yourself in discipline, and this is why, you know, like, you're gonna grow up, you know, acting like a goddamn foolishness, right? So yeah, sometimes it's the influencer, you know, right? We need more, you know, positive and, you know, much more qualified influencer, you know, that has to help our generation to grow, you know, to be a real grown man, right? You know, we have to, you know, act, you know, all grown up here, act, you know, very responsibility and take responsibility, right? If people act there, you know, if people don't act right, and if people act like silly and goofy and act like a stupid clowns, you know, like, let's just say that the professional sport, or, you know, or you want to seek for attention in media, and you act like a clown on the biggest attention on the stage, then everyone's gonna look at you and they're gonna copy you, right? That's exactly what's gonna happen, right? And this is why people want that Adam Silver, that bald head freak out of the NBA, right? In my opinion, he has to be the worst commissioner ever in sport, maybe entire sport history, right? Even there, I don't think there's any people, you know, any commissioner that is worse than him, right? He gotta be the worst stupid bald guy in history, right? Sorry to roast this guy, but if a person has, you know, a little bit more technique, they would not allow Bronny to be in the league. I promise you that. I promise you, right? If you have a little bit more integrity than Adam Silver, then for people who doesn't deserve even to play your high school basketball, you will never vote them in the NBA. I promise you that, right? Yeah, and they don't have to come all these weird gimmick leagues and all stuff, right? Yeah, this is why Sport Fitness ran, and this is why Ticket TV and other, you know, big channels, you know, now they're getting bigger, you know, these high integrity guys, you know, that never lie about anybody. They always tell the truth. They always get their facts right, and they get mad at, and people get mad about it. That's not right, you know. They did everything right, you know. Just imagine you know, these people aren't here today, you know. Like, the problem will only get worse and worse. Will accelerate to get a lot more worse, right? We have to save this generation. We have to save, you know, these people, these bad people, you know, these people that don't care about us. They have to save us, man. Talk about these people, right? Just imagine, you know, if we have no good people, then if everybody's bad, everybody's gonna be bad, and our world's gonna be living chaos right now. So yeah, I want to thank God, you know, for giving me these type of people, you know, that's teaching us, you know, to do the right thing, the way that we should be doing, right? We should act right, and we should do the right things, you know, to help everyone else and not just us, right? We cannot be, you know, kind of selfish. You can be selfish, but we have to teach people to do the right thing, so they learn it the right way and they can do right things for themselves, right? And that way, you know, nobody gets offended at the end of the day, right? So yeah, and this is why, you know, people respect, you know, you know, people, you know, that went through, you know, tougher life, right? Or that were born with strict parents, right? So yeah, I mean, I respect, you know, all these strict parents out there, you know, if they, you know, discipline the children the right way. But if you do it the wrong way, then being strict isn't that good after all, right? So yeah, you know, it's just like reflection. You reflect good, you get good results. You reflect bad, you get bad results. That's simple, you know, right? I know that sometimes, you know, like, you know, people without parents, or people that only live with one parent, or you know, or that doesn't have real grown father, these people, you know, may not be so good, you know, in the future, right? But some, you know, they can handle it, some they can't handle it. So it is what it is, you know. Hopefully sometime, you know, in the future, by being positive, hopefully, you know, like, things will change up a little bit, right? I feel like life will get tough again in the future, you know. Right now it's gonna go up and down, right? This is why life goes up and down and up and down, right? You're gonna have some great time, and you're gonna have some really, you know, bad time, right? But at the end of the day, you know, everything will be equal, right? So this is for your science evidence out there. So let me know what, you know, you thought about this. I'm gonna rewatch this video, you know, just to see, you know, what the title of the video that I should be making. But yeah, it's a very long chat, you know, and all that stuff, right? So